dark and scary. But I asked this archaeologist, I said, okay, have you ever gone out and studied the stars, from the Native American point of view while you're smoking cannabis or you take peyote? And he's like, oh, no, I wouldn't do that. And I'm like, you have committed your entire life to studying this ancient culture that you know very well was studying the stars and taking hallucinogens. And you, as someone who's supposed to be an expert in this field, you don't want to put yourself in the shoes of these people. I was like, dude, if you laid out at night with everything you know about the Pueblo ancestral people and you smoked weed for the first time, or you did peyote or something, you stayed up and looking at the stars, you might have an epiphany about something that you've never realized because your brain's just operating in a different way than it normally does. And he was very slow to to be open to this idea. And, the Zahi thing kind of reminded me of this, is he has preconceived ideas about his world and his personal beliefs that interact with the archaeology, and so it's really hard for us to study the ancient world from a completely unbiased point of view because you have so many preconceived ideas about your modern world that influence your archaeology. And that's why there's no widely accepted, or it's not widely accepted among archaeologists, that Native Americans were heavily influenced by hallucinogens. I really think it's because so many of these people are, older archaeologists that have a knee-jerk reaction to drugs of any kind, and they couldn't possibly fathom the reality that the culture they spent their life studying are all doing hallucinogens all the time. And that's...
Yeah, unquestionably.
It's totally obvious. It's completely obvious.
Yeah.
But, it's
also these people that haven't had these experiences, so they don't know what the effects would be.
Yeah.
So they're basically just guessing, and a lot of it is based on just say no propaganda from the fucking 80s.
It really is, man. I was telling my wife this, I didn't, I don't smoke a lot. When I do, I'm out in Big Bend, out looking at the stars and stuff. And every time I smoke, it's some kind of purpose. I'm in some kind of sacred place, and I don't do anything harder than just smoke cannabis. But whenever I do, I have some kind of realization about myself personally. The first time, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago when I first smoked, I was laying up looking at the night sky, and we had taken some photos out in the desert, and I was looking at myself, and I put on a little bit of weight. And as I was looking at myself, I had disassociated, and I was like, this person does not represent the brain that's in my mind. I need to lose some damn weight. I had this realization about myself. The last time I was out in Big Bend, laying under the stars in the middle of the desert, and I had this realization that, all the time I spend traveling and I get to see so many amazing ancient sites and meet so many cool people, and I'm just constantly go. I'm trying to just make this life work. And I had this realization that the most important thing I do is make dinner for my wife and take my dog on walks. And I would have never had that epiphany, dude, all this stuff is really cool, but it's for fun. And this is the stuff that you love. Your purpose is to take your dog on walks and spend time with your wife. And one day it's going to be to spend time with your kids. And every time I go into it with this idea that I hope that I have some kind of realization, I always do. And it's just I have this, I know that ancient plant medicine is the key to unlocking so much of the ancient world. So
to ignore that knowing that they imbibed, to ignore that knowing that it was a part of these sacred rituals is kind of silly, especially when you deal with the Amazon and ayahuasca.
Oh, yeah, right?
I mean, if you're going to be in a place where you want to completely convene with nature, that's the place. That's the place. And if there's this insanely profound hallucinogen, that the brain produces endogenously that can be extracted from plants through this really weird method where you're taking one plant that has the drug in it, another plant which is a monoamine oxidase inhibitor, and you're combining them together in the perfect amount and boiling it. It tastes like shit. Why are you doing this? How'd you learn? And then when you ask them how they learned how to do this, they're like, the plants taught us.
Yeah, I know, right?